Hello, everyone. Happy Halloween. This is the Movie Night Society once again. We're continuing our found footage horror uh, streak here uh, with the Blair Witch Project. Last week we said we weren't sure what we were going to talk about, if it was even going to be found footage or not. Uh, we had a little get together with some friends and watched a few movies, and we ended up watching the Blair Witch Project, and I thought that was a good movie to talk about because it's not the first found footage movie. There's like other movies that are kind of in the genre that exist from before Blair Witch, but I think it's the first really like popular one and kind of the first really good one. um, yeah, you actually picked it off the shelf, I believe, right? Because we were just kind of like winding down and we wanted to just pick something.
Yeah, I think I was the one that mentioned that, right? Because
Yeah,
one of the friends we were with, he had never seen it before, and I've been wanting to
that's
watch
true.
this
Yeah,
movie again anyway. So
yeah, it's one of my favorite movies. I really love this movie. I think I kind of had the same reaction that most people do the first time seeing it, where you're kind of like, "Oh, that's it," you know?
yeah, especially
Uh,
like if you've seen other found footage and horror movies that have much like grandiose type endings, your
yeah,
expectations are a little bit higher, I'd say.
yeah, definitely. We're gonna spoil things here, but I think most people probably know what this movie is like and what it's about. Um, but yeah, I like you said, it's really the kind of the first. I don't know, like it kind of kick started or jump started the found footage trend for a bit. I want to say, um, although I think like Paranormal Activity really like after that and how much more accessible like it was to just digitally edit movies. I think found footage got even bigger then. But like this is really kind of what I think everything in the genre owes itself to.
Mm.
Uh, hell, even like Deadstream, like we watched that this month, and like the beginning, like Sean has the shirt that says that just like mimics the Blair Witch title, like opening title card. Like every found footage movie I think owes itself to this one, and I still think that this is the best found footage movie uh, in terms of, I mean, really in terms of everything. I really love this movie. I think it's like one of the few movies that genuinely still kind of scares me and unnerves me. Um, yeah, I don't know. Did we watch it together the first time? Like,
I watched it with you. Yes, you showed me it.
yeah, uh, yeah. I think it really is one of those things where you're if you haven't seen it, the first reaction I think is going to be like, "Oh yeah, that okay, that was it." I had the same reaction with like Halloween, where it's like I'd seen tons of slasher movies prior to seeing Halloween, and then it was like watching Halloween. It's like, "Oh, that was it." But really, I feel like those types of things really grow on you
Mm.
after. Um, yeah, I don't know what. How should we start off with this movie? It's a very like I don't know. It's the plot is very simple, like a lot of these found footage movies.
Mm.
Um, it really starts off with these three college students are getting together to make a documentary about the Blair Witch, like legend in Burkittsville, Maryland, and they go into the woods to film part of their documentary, and they slowly kind of get lost in the woods, and people are something is kind of terrorizing them and
Yeah,
following them.
at nighttime
Yeah,
they start hearing things, and they wake up the next day, and there's rocks around them, and just all kind of strange things going on.
Yeah. But it's not a typical found footage movie. I think like most found footage movies, like including the ones that we've watched, are very jump scare heavy, and they show you things, you know, they show you
Yeah, whereas
ghosts
this
or
does none of that.
yeah, really. I don't know. What do you think? What's like the closest thing we see to like anything in this movie?
That's a good question. Um,
I mean, really, I think it's just kind of like the sticks and you know piles of rocks.
yeah,
Like that's kind
I,
of all you see. You hear noises like
I,
you
I
know
think I
during
think
the
like
nighttime scenes,
the
but
closest thing you get to maybe something like that is the scene at night where they're all in a tent and they can hear things around their tent, and don't they see like something kind of pressing on the tent
oh yeah,
that makes them run out, and then Heather, when they're running, and one of the characters says something like, "What is that?" Like they saw something, but we the audience don't see it.
yeah. And you were telling me like a little bit of trivia on that like what happened? Like Heather.
I think it was the director, I believe, wore some type of white sheet over his head, something along those lines. He covered himself in something and was chasing after them. And she was supposed to get a shot of him because I think it was like supposedly supposed to be the Blair Witch or something along those lines. But she was supposed to get a shot of him and she didn't. I guess they were just more focused on running and not falling down on something like that. So she did not end up getting the shot. Like she's supposed to turn the camera around and we were supposed to see something, but we didn't. And I think that was a good thing that we didn't see anything.
Yeah, her reacting to it is so much scarier than like
Yeah,
seeing it.
because we don't see anything, and then she just they're running already, and she's screaming like bloody murder. What is that? What is that? And that just I think it does a better job of freaking out the audience because it's like, well, what did she see? She doesn't really describe what she saw. She just says, "What is that?" So it could just be anything. Again, like just
Yeah,
it leaves it up to your imagination.
yeah. That's the real power of this movie. It was like watching it this time. I kind of felt like this is almost like reading a book in a way because it's very it's not like the most visually compelling movie. It's more in kind of like the imagination and the dialogue and the slow sort of like unraveling of these characters. Although I do think like there are some really good visual like
Yeah,
shots in this movie, but like even with like Heather reading, you know, the script and stuff, it makes it feel like it's almost like an audiobook in a weird way.
yeah,
Um, uh, yeah. Oh man, I don't know. I love this movie. I'm just trying to like,
it's really good. I think
yeah,
another kind of like effective thing about this movie is it's not only like got the Blair Witch and this other like when a weird stuff happening in the night. Like this could also just be a scary movie, just being trapped in the woods and not finding where to go. Because that's like
yeah,
really a majority of the movie is they're lost in this woods and like no matter what they do or where they go, they cannot get out. And like it's another thing to think about. Like, is there something supernatural that's keeping them there, or are they just really bad at going one direction and end up
yeah,
going in circles? Like you don't know. We don't know. There's speculation, but at the end of the day, it's like, is something keeping them here? Is it, whatever's going on at night? Is that have something to do with this? Like, why can't they get out of this woods? They end up even they saying they're going like one direction south, and then they end up back at a log that they passed like the day before, which they're
yeah,
just like, this shouldn't be possible. But yeah, just being like lost somewhere, and just having no clue where you're going is like scary enough. And then the fact that
yeah,
at nighttime they're being terrorized by something.
yeah. It's much more of a psychologically kind of scary movie than yeah, like a viscerally scary one. Uh, which is definitely I think it stands the test of time because of that. It's interesting, like I don't know. it's probably in a way it's so dated, like this movie. You know, when we talk about like lots of classic movies and like, everyone uses the word timeless in a strange way, like, the story is timeless, or like it feels like it's not tied down to any era, but this really is. It's so tied down to like these specific type of cameras that they'd have in the 90s. I think the movie takes place in 94, right?
I
And the
believe
movie
so.
was
Yeah.
released in 99. Um, and it's like, but it's like, I don't know, something about that. It really needs that for the realism. There's something about this movie, like, I don't know. I'm going to sound like pretentious here, I feel, but there's something about this movie that really does kind of transcend like being a movie. It starts to like not feel like a movie after a while, and you just kind of are like, almost feels like you're watching like these people actually, you know, like existing in a way.
Mhm.
Uh, like every time I watch it, I'm like, I don't know, I like kind of forget that it's like a movie. It feels like I'm
Yeah.
just watching like real footage.
I think it's worth mentioning that more behind the scenes stuff when it comes to that, because they were just in a lot of ways they were kind of actually lost in the woods, because the director and the crew, they just went up into this woods, and I think you said like for a week they were there. I think they filmed it all in a week, and they were just given like notes, and I think that they might have had radios on them or something, but like the director kind of told them like just head in this direction and then do this. And that's kind of like all they had to go on. I don't think they really even had a script that they necessarily had to follow, except for maybe like like a few keywords or phrases or something along those lines. So
Yeah,
they really were being scared at night, and they were probably really just walking the whole day filming stuff and having conversations. I don't know if they were like really as sleep deprived and hungry as they were saying in the movie, but like they were trying to go for like something pretty authentic here. So I think a lot of the fear you see from them and frustration and them being tired and hungry isn't really all just acting.
yeah. It. I know that they went to the woods, and I think the directors would kind of like go away and but like follow them, and uh essentially like, kind of like mess around with them at night, like with the
Yeah.
tent scene and
Hmm.
everything. And I don't think they told the actors what they were going to do.
Yeah, I
I,
don't
I'm
think
I'm
they did.
very I haven't like totally done my research on all this, but like, so a lot of it's kind of hearsay for me. um I usually like to really look up everything about a movie I like, but I guess this is like one of those movies where I don't like go out of my way to look up stuff about it because I like the immersion of it. But it is always really fun to learn things about this movie. And I think what they did was like every morning they kind of give the actors, yeah, like a little bits of, paper with like, this is
Yeah,
what where your character is at,
pretty much. Yeah.
this is what's happening, and like uh yeah, just like notes on like what to do.
Hmm. Yep.
um yeah, so it really is like these people are camping out in the woods, and the acting is so like authentic in this movie. I think it's one of the most kind of realistically acted movies
Oh
I've
yeah.
seen in a while. uh or I mean in my life. Like, I mean, it's so, again, I every time I watch this movie now, it just feels like I am being completely sucked in to the experience. uh and I think like that is I don't know. It's not a problem with the movie, but like it's sort of like the problem with, I don't know, people. I guess is like not everyone is going to get themselves totally immersed in this movie. I feel like no matter what, and I it's always like interesting to read people's comments on this movie and like negative reviews and stuff. A lot of people really think the characters in this are annoying, and complain that they argue too much. It's like,
Well,
no, that's like what would realistically happen.
yeah, they're all lost in the woods. Of course
Yeah,
they. They don't start all arguing at first. It's really when, like, after a day or two, uh, I think like after they're like supposed to get out, that the arguing really starts to happen. But it feels very natural, especially when they find out one of the guys, Mike, threw away their map essentially. Obviously, they're going to
Yeah,
argue about that and get really upset. And again, that they've been traveling, they're lost. They keep going one direction and end up like the same place. They're hungry. They say this like multiple times throughout the movie. So yeah, their frustration at the whole situation feels very natural. Like of course they're going to be arguing.
yeah, and even when they're arguing, there's moments like where they kind of are like like we can't just keep arguing. We have to
Yeah, they do that
focus and like
multiple
get this
times.
done
Yeah,
and
it feels
find our
very
way out of
natural.
here.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they're not
and
just
I like
arguing the whole time. That they do point out, like you said, like we need to just stop arguing and just get out of here. But it's you can say that, but they still kind of get on each other's nerves. Especially like Katie still is filming kind of everything that they're doing, and that starts really getting to the guys because I think you're not taking this seriously. You're still just filming your documentary when we should be focusing on getting out of here. So like a lot of the situations that they get in and like stuff they're doing, like it makes sense why they would be annoyed and
yeah,
get angry at each other. I didn't know that was a complaint that people had. Is like they argue too much. It feels
yeah,
very natural in the situation that they're in to argue.
yeah. I don't know. I was looking at Letterboxd because I was curious like what people had to say. I mean, a lot of people are very positive about this movie. Um, but yeah, it seems like a lot of the complaints are like, you know, oh, the characters are kind of like annoying, which I don't think they're annoying. I really like the characters in this
Yeah,
movie.
I didn't think
Like
any of them
Heather,
were
Heather,
annoying.
Josh, Mike, they're all like really. They feel very distinct and uh, they have very like specific characters without feeling like they're caricatures.
Yeah, definitely agree.
Um, I don't know if any of them went on to do anything big. I know Heather. She was in like an episode of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, and that's like the only other thing I've seen her in.
Oh,
I
that's funny.
think like maybe she was in the sequel, the Book of Shadows, Blair Witch 2. I'm not sure. I'm gonna look up real quick.
That'd be kind of
She's
cool if
in
she
it.
was.
She's like in archive footage, I guess, for that movie. Um, but yeah, it's like it's so crazy because everyone in this movie is like really great. It's like I can't believe they didn't get bigger.
Mm,
Um,
yeah,
and especially because like it's not even just that their acting is so good. It's like I feel like in a way they are essentially the directors of this movie in a way. They're sort of the ones holding the cameras and like doing the shots. They're sort of like in control of this movie in a lot of ways, and it's like I don't know. I wish that they got uh, more parts and stuff. So uh, yeah, yeah, and another scene that I saw like someone comment on that I thought was really weird is the scene where toward the end, after like Josh he's disappeared. Josh just disappears at some point, and they don't really know what happened to him. Uh, and everything. This is like the low point of the movie before it gets to like the house, and Heather assumingly like she goes off kind of on her own into the woods in the middle of the night to like record essentially like an apology like to the camera,
hmm
apologizing to like Mike and Josh's like moms. uh
yeah,
and like it's a really like heartbreaking scene,
yeah. Because
especially like when you know what's going to happen.
yeah,
Yeah,
and she's really just recording like her final. I don't know if you want to say like moments or like just like her goodbyes because she believes that she's gonna
yeah,
die out there, and it's a pretty. It feels like a very well acted, realistic performance. Like she really nailed that scene, and I learned that Uh, she didn't know the camera was that close. Like it was zoomed in a little bit on her face. That's why in that shot you mostly like just see kind of like the upper half of her face. She did not know it was
Yeah.
that zoomed in, but I thought that was really effective, even though it's kind of gross too, because you know she's crying, so she's got like
Yeah,
stuff kind
she's
of
like
coming from her face and her
snotting
nose
up
and
and
everything,
everything.
and you see right into her nose. It's like, oh, that's kind of gross, but I think it's
It's
really
realistic.
effective. Yeah, it's realistic.
Yeah,
But
like
it's
the character in the moment wouldn't care if like they look, you know, good or
yeah,
not.
and you know people are ugly when they cry. Like you know, a lot
Yeah,
of
I
movies
know.
like to have pretty crying and stuff, but you know people are pretty gross looking when they cry.
Yeah, no one looks good when they cry, and like it was weird to like hear complaints about this scene saying that like you know like kind of making fun of like how she looked or like you know thinking it's too over the top, you know, that she's
It's
like
not over the
snotting
top at
up and every
all.
yeah, it's like
Have people snot?
it's so realistic.
Have
Like
people never cried before? I mean, you usually
I
get
know, right?
a runny
It's
nose
like
when you
people who
cry,
it's like people who complained about like Tobey Maguire's crying
crying too
in the
much.
Spider-Man movies. It's like
I know when it's
that's not like
all like
people look when they cry.
I
Or like
know
there was like
it's
that
not the sexy
scene in
cry.
yeah,
It's
there was that
the
scene
one
in
tear.
what was it? The Walking Dead where like kind of became a meme where like Rick Grimes is like Carl like he's crying. It's like that sort of became a meme and it's like I don't know. That's how like someone. That's how people look when they cry. Or, I don't know. It really weirds me out when like people complain about like really realistically acted scenes in movies where it's like, dude, that's not like how people actually act. You know, it's not like a single tear cry. Which I don't mind this single tear cry because it's like okay, it's a movie. You
Yeah,
know,
the
but
Hollywood sexy cry.
for this it would feel pretty strange. I feel, and it's like for like
Yeah,
that's the
it
big
wouldn't feel
moment.
like a
That's on the
genuine
poster.
scene. It wouldn't feel like a
Yeah,
genuine scene if it was just a one tear and her face didn't change much because of that. Like
yeah. It's
so,
like
it's a very effective scene. It's a really good one too.
I know I had a weird. It's like I don't know. I feel weird saying this, but like I watched this movie a couple of years ago, and I like actually cried at like I think that moment because it really does feel like you're watching a real person. Like
Say goodbye
yeah, it's
to the
like oh
people
my
that they
god,
love.
it's so like intense. Uh, just like I love the performances in this movie. Like they're so good, and you really like get to it really has the found footage kind of structure at the beginning where it is like most found footage movies start off with like all the characters, you know, all happy and you know riffing off each other. uh I always kind of forget that you have that in this movie. uh it weirdly catches me off guard because I always remember, you know, the scary stuff. It's like yeah, you really get to like these characters, just like them hanging out and stuff, like when they're in the I think they're in like in the motel room or something.
Mm.
They're just like drinking beer and stuff. It's really just fun. And it's like it's good because it's just I mean you need to set up that these are real people, you know? And it's like, yeah, real people have those good moments, like those likable moments, and then once a situation can, you know, kind of bring people to their low point, it's like they are going to start arguing and fighting with each other and like getting pissed off and angry or sad. Uh, I don't know. I think this movie just shows like such a great downward psychological spiral that I don't know is so simple that I don't know. A lot of other psychological thrillers and stuff. Um, I don't know. Don't capture this kind of thing that but like as well as this movie. Um,
I agree.
yeah, and it's like I guess for me too, I would say this is one of the scariest movies for me at least, like of all time that I've seen. Like I think this and like Texas Chainsaw Massacre are probably the scariest movies to me because they both have that realistic quality. Even like Texas Chainsaw Massacre kind of has like a almost like a documentary feel. I think there's a quote in American Movie where like Mark Borchardt says like is talking about the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and he says like it looks like something you'd see in science class. Like it looks really raw and like kind of gross, uh, and realistic. Uh, I think that's why. Yeah, I think I've said that before. Well, in some of the other reviews this month, but like that's why I like found footage a lot. Is like the realism.
Mm.
Uh, it's funny if I feel like if we didn't watch this movie, we watched another found footage movie called Megan is Missing,
Oh
and
dear.
that was like the polar opposite of this movie.
I wish I had been missing
Everything felt
during the viewing of this movie.
everything in that movie felt like so inauthentic
Man,
until like the last
we should
20
talk about that
minutes.
movie sometime
Oh
on
God,
here,
I guess maybe. Well, we could. Uh,
but
yeah,
not for this review. Some other
it was
time.
I will say it was kind of fun to watch with a group because we were riffing on it. But like, wow, not a good movie. I think it has some moments of kind of like actual good stuff in it, but like, wow, you got to sit through a whole like hour before you get to that stuff. Uh, but back to Blair Witch Project. I'm trying to think like, um, it really is such a simple movie, but I think those are kind of like oftentimes the best movies, you know, where it's like, what, how do we take like such a simple idea and make it interesting? You know, it's just like kind of the simplicity really is like, let's make this feel authentic,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and realistic, and that's the scary thing about it. Um, yeah, it's like a it's fun to watch though. In the beginning, I like all the documentary stuff where they're just like interviewing people in the town, about the Blair Witch, and they're
Yeah,
really setting up the lore in a way, but
it
not.
foreshadowed the ending too, but you'd have no idea the first time you watch it,
Yeah, that was
which I
really
like
like,
because it just seems like a kind of a throwaway line almost, and then
and that's
I,
what's so great about it is like everything
yeah,
in the first documentary portion does feel like kind of, yeah, throwaway, because like people contradict each other, and like, you know, it's not like one set mythology. Everyone, you know, it's an urban legend, so like everyone kind of has their own sort of like interpretation of like, or like what they've heard. It's all like very similar, but it's like it doesn't all feel like it totally lines up, and there's like different kind of theories on it. uh and that's something that the soft reboot, the 2016 movie, did so poorly. It was like, just let's just show everything and try to define the Blair Witch and what it looks like. And it's like, oh, great. That's exactly the opposite of what makes the first movie so good. It's like this is like the perfect example of a movie that like never needed any kind of sequel or, you know, remake or anything. Because the whole thing is like just the execution of the movie. It's like the lore is kind of more in service of that, you know.
mm-hmm.
um yeah, I like some of the, what was that character's name? They like go to this one lady's house, and she's like, I think she's holding a Bible, and she has like a cross, like on her necklace. They're like
Oh,
Mary something. I
yeah,
can't
something like
remember.
that.
But like, I love her description of the Blair Witch, where like she's like completely covered in hair, and like
She's
I
Bigfoot.
don't know, it's just, huh?
She's
Oh, she's big.
Bigfoot.
She's Bigfoot.
Bigfoot. It's Bigfoot. This really is just a movie about Bigfoot, and we didn't know this whole time except now. I think I just solved the case of the Blair Witch. It's just
Oh
Bigfoot.
my goodness.
I'm a
That's the
genius.
best Bigfoot movie, I guess.
Yeah, best Bigfoot movie ever.
But it's like, yeah, like great. Again, the imagination is like what's strongest here. Um, so I guess it's like, if people don't have a good enough imagination to, you know, kind of build something scary in their own mind, I guess this movie's not for them.
Hmm.
But yeah, I think it's
Yeah,
wonderful
I
movie.
think it gets better after every viewing too.
Right? Yeah, it's like I've seen this movie, I don't know how many times now, like probably half a dozen, maybe a little more. It's like you'd think it would get boring at some point, or like it wouldn't be as strong on rewatch, but it really does just get better and better the more you watch it. It's not like one of those movies where you're picking up on details or in the story or whatever. It's just like something about it each time you watch it just kind of makes it feel more real, I guess. I don't know.
Mm.
And it was made for like 200,000 or something, like something really really low.
Yeah.
uh I think probably for the time it was like, I want to say like probably the most like profitable movie ever made, if I'm correct. um Not sure. It had probably at least like one of the most. Um, and I mean, I was like 4 at the time, so I don't remember this, but like, um, I've heard like the advertising campaigns and stuff were really like kind of
Oh yeah, there were people that
selling it as
legitimately
a
thought this
real,
was real. Yeah, there were a lot of people
yeah.
that thought it was real. I think I even read that people were sending letters to like the moms of the actors on the movie saying like, "Oh, I'm so sorry about what happened to your daughter," and stuff like that because they thought it was real and that they
Yeah,
were really missing. So
yeah. It's which is funny because I mean, like the movie takes place in '94, and it's like if this really happened in real life, there would have been, like 5 years of people talking about it. But really clever ad campaign.
oh
Uh,
yeah.
I think one of the posters was like just kind of it said like missing, and then it showed like the 3 actors on it.
Yeah,
Uh,
their marketing was pretty brilliant.
yeah, it's great. Yeah, any time like a movie can kind of try to sell itself, realistically like that. Like I think like Ghostwatch, I think a lot of the success of that movie, how good it is like, that it essentially, if you missed out on the opening credits, it's like you think it's a real broadcast, and
Hmm.
it has like real, uh, you know, people from the BBC like in it. Uh,
Yeah.
that's another great movie. Maybe we can talk about that at some point. But yeah, Blair Witch Project. I don't know. Have you seen the sequel, the Book of Shadows one?
No, I have not.
From what I remember, it takes this. It's a cinematic movie. It's not like found footage, but it's sort of like a movie about the popularity of the Blair Witch Project,
Oh.
which is kind of an interesting way to go about it. But it's weird. Like, I mean, Blair Witch Project is really dated, uh, in a way, but it's like it's so good. And like Blair Witch 2 really feels like a product of like the late 90s, early 2000s,
Mhm.
but because it's like a cinematic horror movie, it has like all those kind of just weird editing choices and shit, and crappy dialogue and stuff. Um, I don't know. I'd like to watch it again at some point, but I don't know. Uh, and then I can't remember. Did you watch the 2016 one?
No, I have not.
Okay. Hmm. Oh man, maybe that should be our next series we do.
Hmm. Good.
It could be. I
I
don't
I
know.
know.
I don't know. It's like I hated the 2016 one.
Yeah, I
Hated
know.
it. And it's interesting because another movie we watched yesterday was The Guest, directed by Adam Wingard and written by Simon Barrett. They also did the Blair Witch 2016 movie, and I don't know. It's so surprising, like how good The Guest is, and then like how shitty Blair Witch is. But I think it's like one of those things where it really just fails at like it fails right at conception level. It's like this is not a good idea, you know.
Yeah. Hmm.
But it's weird. I hated it, but I'm also like extremely curious to now. So I don't know, but maybe that curiosity will fade. We'll see.
Yes, we shall.
Trying to think. Yeah, there's really like no music in this movie either, except like during the end credits, and it's very ambient. It's not.
Yeah, that's the
It's
mood.
not like most horror movies where it ends on like some rock song or something.
Yeah.
It's very like I don't know. It has a perfect sense of like, uh, you just watch something really scary and horrifying, but like also kind of tragic.
Mhm.
Just yeah, I don't know. Uh, I don't know. I'm trying to think. What else should we talk about with the movie?
We want to talk about the ending.
Yeah. We want to just jump there. Is there anything? There's scenes that were, uh, you know, beforehand that stand out. It's like interesting because like I remember big scenes in this movie like before every time I watch it, but sometimes I like forget. Again before I watch it, like how the sequence of events goes exactly.
Guess like
I forget like the timing of things.
One like really eerie thing is this is when it's Josh is his name, correct? Yeah, Josh. They can't find Josh. He's gone missing. He's separated from them, and at nighttime, it's like they can hear him yelling for
Oh,
either he's yelling
yeah.
for help or he's just they think they hear him, so they try to scream his name and try to find him to no avail, which is really creepy. Just like knowing like our friends out there and it's night times and he's just like, is he just wandering around? Like, where is he? Like, that's a terrifying thought just to be like alone out there and you don't have anything with you. Like they at least have a tent to sleep in and he's just got nothing and he's out there and he's lost. I always thought that was like a terrifying thing.
Yeah,
But yeah,
I'm
like,
sure there's got to be some theories from people that like Josh is behind everything, right?
yeah, I think that was uh, the guy who does the game theories did a video on that.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about, I think.
Yeah, I've seen like other theories. They don't make any sense to me, but I know some people
No,
I like
I
to
don't
think
believe
that.
it.
Yeah. But it's still like a freaky scene. And then one morning, Heather comes out and there's like this bundle of sticks there in front of their tent. And it's got like Josh's shirt or coat, pieces of it kind of wrapped around. So you know that that's his. So she unwraps it and it's like full of blood and what looks like teeth. And I always think there looks like there's a tongue in there.
Yeah,
Kind of.
that's what I thought.
It's like teeth and a tongue. At least it's what it looks like to me. It's some people I think disagree with like what exactly is in there.
Yeah, it's clearly something so kind of like distressing to
Yeah, it
Heather.
really freaks Heather out.
Yeah, that she like doesn't even really properly film it or anything.
Yeah, she freaks out and cries when seeing it. And then
I love that.
I don't think she talks to Mike about it even.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like, I love that she doesn't say anything to Mike about it. It's like it's almost at that point. It's like I think she really does know that they're gonna die, and that like there's almost no point in telling Mike because all it is gonna do is like make him feel worse.
Mm-hmm.
It's like that's
yeah.
I don't know. It's just like it's so weird. Like the stuff that I find scary in horror movies now is the stuff that also makes me sad. It's like that's like such a fucked up idea that like she knows this bit of information, but like she just can't tell her. Like it's so shocking that she can't even tell her like friend there, like the only person that's with her.
Yep.
Yeah, it's like again, like she also goes like off on her own to film her kind of like whatever apology, and like doesn't tell Mike about it or anything. Yeah, that's a great scene.
Yeah, and I think that's like when it leads into the ending where it's like the next night or something like that, and then they find a house. So they go
Yeah.
in because I think they hear Josh also like yelling in this house, and they're kind of going upstairs looking for him, and they see like children-sized handprints on the wall, which goes back to some of the stories that they heard in town when they were doing the documentary. And then Mike is convinced that he hears Josh yelling from downstairs, so he goes a little bit before Heather, and like he runs into, I guess, the basement is what it is,
Yeah.
the lowest level, and we don't really like see what happens to him down there. He just kind of runs down there, and then like the camera falls, right?
Yeah, he runs in and something happens to him. Like
Yeah, we
drops
have
the
no
camera.
idea. Like no idea. You don't see anything. We have no clue what's going on. Like, did he find Josh? Something else down
And
there? No idea.
this is also something I like too. Again, like kind of playing into the realism of it is like they have two cameras, but only one of them they're recording sound with. Uh, so Mike has the one that has the sound, and it drops, and then once it cuts back to Heather's camera, all the sound is like off, like
Yeah,
from what she's seeing.
yeah.
I love that. Uh, just I don't know that like disjointed, like the sound not being spot on, like makes it feel so like I don't know, just more surreal, and it like really helps that final moment out. It's like something's really small, but I love that little detail. And then
The devil's
yeah,
in the
Heather,
details.
yeah, and then Heather goes down there, and
And she just I love her screaming because she just has like the most blood curdling screams.
yeah, oh, she's so good in this.
She's
Like,
really good. So she's just
yeah,
screaming like for Mike. She's just screaming out Mike's name with this like blood curdling yell. And she goes down into the basement too. And all we see is Mike standing in the corner facing away. Again, going back to the story that the lady said that there'd be two kids and one of them would have to stand in the corner while the other one would get killed.
yeah,
So it's like, is something making Mike do that? Is Mike doing that himself? Why is he doing that? But all we see is that when Heather sees Mike, she just keeps screaming, and then the camera falls down, and that's it. Again, leaving it completely to your imagination. Like some of the questions I asked. What was Mike doing there? Why was he doing that? Was someone making him do that? Did he do that himself? What did Heather see? Why did she drop the camera?
yeah. It's
So many
such a
different theories and questions that it doesn't answer, and I'm glad it doesn't, because that's like the scariest part, is that just you get to fill in the blanks what happens, which is pretty rare. Like I can't think of any other like found footage film that really leaves that much open to interpretation.
yeah. A lot of the found footage movies we've seen are like often have pretty extensive backstory. But yeah, I love the urban legend aspect of this because like I think like even when those I don't know who specifically talks about that aspect that like oh yeah he'd take one of the kids into the corner and have them look away while he killed one of the kids. Uh, it's like I think when they're talking about that earlier on in the movie, they're not even like discussing it like that's I don't even think they say that's what the Blair Witch did. They're talking about like something else, kind of,
Mm-hmm.
if I'm remembering correctly.
Yeah,
Because that again, that's like another thing I like. Is like it's like oh, even is it even the Blair Witch? Like, what
yeah,
is the Blair Witch? Like, is it
yeah,
just a person
mm-hmm.
or what?
Yeah.
I
It
mean,
just
I guess my sort of interpretation, I guess, is like that there is a supernatural force behind it or something. Uh, but I love that it doesn't feel over the top. It doesn't feel like you know it's like interesting to me because like in a way it feels like that house is like this kind of final destination on like a roadmap to hell in a sense,
mm-hmm.
you know. And it's like there's something just really creepy about like they've been walking around the woods this whole time and like they just never found this house.
Yeah,
Like they're walking back in circles and all this stuff, and it's like
yeah, and they've been walking it for days at that point.
Yeah,
never came across the
again,
house. It's like, did
it
something want them
feels,
to finally find this house?
yeah, it
Did
feels like
something
planned.
allow them to finally get here?
Yeah, it's like
Yeah,
that's the creepy element of it that is just like so brilliant. You know, it's like, of course, like it could be explained that like, oh, they just happened to find this house finally, because we don't
yeah.
know you know, the geography of where they are.
No, like that's the
Anything.
brilliant part around, like kind of like you were saying, is like there's no like clear evidence to suggest anything supernatural is even going on. Like, it's all could just be like you said, they could have just been wandering around. They just didn't wander here yet, and they just happened to find this house.
Yeah,
Um,
it's a great ending. Yeah, and yeah,
you know,
we were talking too, like that they had different ideas for the ending, which it feels like pretty. I don't know how true that is, but like I assume that's right, because like this
and
feels like
you
the type of
you can
movie that
actually
would
go
have.
on YouTube and look. They shot and filmed different endings to the basement.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, you can see for
I
yourself.
need to look those up. But what are the other ending? Because we're kind of talking about them, but
I think because it's been a while since I've seen them, but I know one of them. I think Mike is just like he's in the corner, but he's not facing away from it. He's like looking right at Heather. I
mm,
think that was one of them. One of them I definitely remember is there's like a big stick figure in the corner that Mike is like kind of crucified on.
mm.
Um, I think there was like another one too, but I don't remember it off the top of my head. But there's just kind of different things that either Mike's doing or happens to Mike down in the basement, and that they're all filmed. You can see, just look up like Blair Witch alternate endings, and you should be able to find them. But I think there were like 3 or 4 that they filmed. But I'm glad that they went with the one that they did, because again, that leaves I think the most up to interpretation with that one, and it's a
Yeah,
callback to what was said earlier.
yeah, and it kind of just feels the most subtle too. You know,
Yeah,
it's like it's like crazy how that shot of like Mike standing in the corner is like so terrifying. You know, like after seeing the movie, like I don't know,
yeah,
it's
because
like,
it'd be
oh, it's
like
just a guy
any other
standing in a
found
corner.
footage. Yeah, if it was like any other found footage, it'd be like, oh, he's being stabbed or something by whatever down there, and or his like dead body would just like fall down or something.
Yeah, or they'd
Like
have a
it
demonic
leave.
face.
Yeah, it's like it wouldn't leave much up in interpretation, but like it's terrifying because again, why is he in that corner? Did someone make him? We didn't
Yeah,
see anybody down in the basement with Mike. What's down there? Is anyone down there? Something's going on. Again, it's just a million different questions that we get no answers to, and you just have to fill it in.
yeah, it's brilliant. Yeah, yeah, I don't have like too much else to say. Um, I do think one thing that I like about the movie is, and again, this is kind of like after watching it multiple times, and I guess sort of like reading into it in a way. And I don't feel like this was intentional, but it's like it just feels perfect because, in a weird way, I think the scariest thing about the movie is like Heather and like these three are like documentarians, and they're like going out and they're setting out to like make a movie, you know, this like kind of creative endeavor. And I feel like, you know, so the essence of like creative endeavor and like art and even like documentary like stuff is like leaving behind a legacy or like looking into the past. uh I don't know. I think like the thing that's scary about this movie is like these characters are essentially trying to make something that they're going to leave behind, or like, and they have their whole lives ahead of them, and then it's like cut short, you know. uh and like this ends up being their legacy. I think that's like kind of like the scary thing about it, is like twisting that idea of their sort of hopes and dreams and then twisting it into something darker and more tragic is like the scary aspect about it. um yeah, it's, man, it's so good. Like it's like one of those movies that I just feel like yeah, there's gonna be some people who poo-poo it for being like boring, and it really isn't a typical type of movie. It's not the
Yeah, I think the only people that would think that is if you like set your expectations not too high, but just you expect it to be like found footage movies nowadays that show a lot more stuff. It's like,
yeah
oh, because I'm not gonna lie, I've seen a lot of other found footage movies before this. So when I saw this and the ending and everything, I just was like, oh, that's it. That's the ending. We didn't really see anything. Nothing really going on. It's like, oh, just kind of like at face value, it feels underwhelming. But the more you think about it, and the more I did think about it after I watched it, it's like, no, this is a really good ending actually, because it leaves it all up to you, and a million questions that kind of like arise from it, um, that you have to ask and that we get no answers to, and that's pretty terrifying right there. The fact that we have so many questions and nothing will get answered.
yeah. And it's funny because like with the first video that we did on this channel was the paranormal activity, and I feel like paranormal activity is kind of the thing that got us into found footage, I would say. uh I don't really remember watching a lot of found footage before we started going to see like all the
Yeah,
paranormal activity movies. And I think like over those years we watched, like VHS and Grave
yeah, I'd say
Encounter
I'd say Paranormal
and stuff.
Activity kind of was the gateway
Yeah.
for found footage
So
for us.
so yeah, like after like a lot of paranormal activity movies, it's like yeah, we had like a certain expectation of found footage, and then this one is like, oh, okay, I see how this would have been scary as the first one, but uh and then you kind of think about it later and they're like, oh man, oh no, that was great. Oh man, I keep you keep thinking about it, and it sticks with you. uh I had more to say. I forgot what I was gonna say, but about paranormal activity too, like it's interesting that there's like different endings that they shot for that movie as well, uh kind of similar to this. uh I think they picked the best endings for both ones, but
Hmm.
I did like the other endings for Paranormal Activity too. I needed to check those other Blair Witch Project endings because they
Yeah,
sound
I
interesting.
I like when they have alternate endings. It's kind of just neat to see like what other ideas they had for the ending, stuff like that. But yeah, I definitely suggest anyone who is into this movie to just see, because they're all pretty quick. It pretty much just starts from like when Mike goes in the basement and then Heather just kind of running down the stairs there. So like they're all um it's like a 6 minute video. Because I think it shows the original in it too. So it's the
Okay.
original, I think, and then like three other endings. Uh, so yeah, definitely suggest checking those out if you're a fan of the movie, and just to see like what other ideas they might have had. But I think like most people will agree that the one that they ultimately chose was the best one, because that's the one that leaves the most. It's the most open to interpretation, which
Yeah.
can make it the most scariest.
Yeah, and it's I mean, who knows? Maybe the other endings would have become iconic as well, but
Yeah,
you know,
it's just like the
your
other
your
ones.
ending is
The other
your
ones
ending is
make
like
it
what you
seem
leave the
like
audience with.
especially like two of the endings for sure makes it seem like okay, like something did something to Mike. There's somebody that was there that did something, whereas in the original, it's like did something make Mike get in that corner? Or did he just do it himself?
Yeah.
It
Is he
takes
in
that
on it
away.
with Josh?
Yeah, yeah. So those, like two of those other endings kind of like take that away, like that
Yeah.
mystery. So I think they went with the right one. But yeah, definitely suggest checking those out if you're a fan. And yeah, that's really I think all we got to say about the
Yeah.
movie.
Yeah, I can't think of too much else or anything. It's I don't know. It's really like a classic.
Yeah.
Uh
If anyone's a fan of found footage, it's definitely worth at least a watch.
yeah, give it a watch, and then maybe like if you don't like it, give it like a year or two, maybe a few, and then revisit it. Because yeah, it's I guess yeah, that's like kind of one thing I wanted to say is like there's always that expectation that's put upon certain things, like Citizen Kane, calling it the greatest movie of all time. And it's like, well, there's no way it's going to be the greatest movie of all time for everyone. you know, when you say that. Or like, or The Exorcist, you know, people call it the scariest movie of all time. It's not going to be that for everyone. And like, I think whenever you hear that, I think the best thing to do is to like set aside that and just go in, you know, and think to yourself like, you know, this will be good. You know, uh, Citizen Kane was something that I, you know, first time seeing it, it's like, this isn't the greatest movie of all time. But then you like think about it more, and then you watch it again and with the right expectations, and then you're like, oh no, this is just like really good. You know, like this is great. Um, I kind of had that same reaction with like Exorcist and this movie. It's like, yeah, don't set your expectations too high for this, but it is really good. And if it sticks with you, and if you like this kind of thing, like definitely should watch it like at least once. Um,
Yep,
yeah,
I agree.
I don't really have much else to say about it. Um, it's one of my favorite movies. I think I said that before, so I think we're just gonna rate it now. I guess pretty obvious for me, like 5 stars. It's it really is like, I don't know. I just it's like one of those perfect horror movies. There's something about it that is like just kind of pure, like distilled horror in a bottle, you know? It's just like everything at the right time, everything working to the best of its like ability in the movie, like the performances, like just the ideas in it. It's a perfect movie. It's I think it's one of the scariest movies ever. Um, and it does so without showing like anything. So yeah, 5 stars for me.
Hmm.
What about you?
What do you think I'm gonna give it? Just out of curiosity.
I mean, I'm trying to think of like, I mean, we all rated Paranormal Activity a 4, so I think you're gonna at least rate it higher than that.
So 4.5 or 5. Which one? Which one do you think I'm gonna do?
Um, I mean, you already have it in mind, right? I'm not
Yes,
swaying
yes,
you.
I know my yes, no, I know my rating.
Um, hmm, I think you're gonna give it a 4.5.
Okay, here's my rating.
Okay.
5, baby. It's a 5.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think this is like as close as you can get to a perfect horror film, and like this is probably one of the ones I've thought about the most. I just like thinking of my own theories about it, and it just it's kind of like you said, it does everything so well, and I really can't think of any flaws I have with it, especially like the more I watch it. And yeah, I think I could like watch this movie whenever. It was fun to watch it with somebody who hadn't watched it before, and
Yeah,
yeah, I just think it's great. Like it's a 5 for me.
yeah. It's like it's so good.
I think
Uh,
that's the third movie on here I've given a 5. I think the only other movies I've given a 5 are Spider-Man 2 and Rocky.
oh really? Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I really like
We
Blair
gotta find
Witch though.
some more fives for you, because I feel like I give out too many fives, but we also watch a lot of horror movies that I really
Yeah, well, like
enjoy.
some of them were like Evil Dead 2. I mean, that's like one of your favorite films, so
Yeah,
favorite
I
movies.
mean, okay,
So,
like I gave Deadstream a 5, even though
oh
I
yeah, that's right.
seen it twice, but I watched it a third time with a group of friends, and like, yeah, it's still a 5 for me. I think it's funny. I think that might be my like, I don't know, second or third favorite found footage movie, just because it's so completely the opposite of Blair Witch. It's like such a fun movie. I could just kind of comfy watch, you know, just because it's so funny and charming. But yeah, this is like I this is still like the kind of, I don't know. It feels like the first and final word on found footage in a way. You know,
Hmm.
it's like everything else is like trying so hard to get there, and I feel like it's it's great. I love found footage movies. Like, keep making them, but it almost feels like a moot
Nothing
point
will
because it's
surpass
like
this.
nothing's gonna surpass this. It's like
Yeah.
this kind of, again, came out at the right time, did everything perfectly. Yeah, I guess the I don't know, the way to do found footage now, I think, is just to get more creative or weird with it, or I don't know, just do different things in this movie, I guess.
Yeah.
That's why I like Deadstream and like the
I think
VHS film.
this is like the first since Rocky though that we've both given fives, right?
Yeah, the two of us, yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think Dustin gave Rocky a.
4.5. I think.
I don't think he's ever given a 5 yet, has he?
I don't think he ever did.
I mean,
No.
he hasn't been here for like ever, but
No, I
yeah,
think the only other one that was close between us two was Spider-Man 2. You gave a 4.5, right?
yes, yeah, and that's still like my favorite comic book movie, I would say.
Yeah.
Superhero movie.
Well, Spider-Man 2 is like my second favorite movie, so of course it's gonna get a 5 from me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think this is only my third 5 out of 5 on here.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm giving them out to like candy, like trick or treat candy.
Ooh,
I don't.
spooky.
I don't know, but yeah, I think maybe like Blade Runner, I'd maybe drop those to a 4.5. But like, they're really good. I don't know.
John Carter, 5 out of 5, right?
Oh, of course, John Carter is a masterpiece. Definitely better than 2001: A Space Odyssey and Blade Runner.
24K, baby, 24K.
Does it really have 24K?
Yeah.
Oh my god, that's insane.
Yes, it is. Yeah, check out our John Carter review if you haven't. It's our most popular video.
For some reason, I think it just came out at the right time or something.
Yeah. Well, that is our review on the Blair Witch.
Yeah. And, well, the Blair Witch Project, not that other.
Oh yeah, not the. I gotta say the Blair Witch Project.
Yeah, I hate that now. I don't know. What are we gonna do next?
It's no longer spooky month.
Yeah, I can't think of like. It's like I kind of want to do VHS, but like I don't know.
We could still do the reboot for Blair. You know, we could do the Blair Witch.
We could, yeah, and I don't know if Book of Shadows, the Blair Witch 2, is on any streaming services. I'm gonna check that real quick.
Yeah, I think I'd like to go back to like kind of the series that we were doing before Halloween, because that was kind of fun.
Yeah, I like doing these series. Yeah, like it's funny though. Like we were gonna do Paranormal Activity, and that like wasn't on Paramount during October. But then I found out like all the VHS films were actually on. The first 3 were on Hulu. So I don't know, but let me look at Book of Shadows Blair. Oh my God, Book of Shadows Blair Witch 2 is on HBO Max, and then the 2016 one is on Netflix. And let me double check. Let me double check. Here's the problem too: is like it's always like one of those things that could just be. Turn off the sound. Goodness gracious! It could always be one of those things where it's like, oh, it like just got put on Netflix, or like it's going to be taken off at the end of the month. So I'm just going to double check that real quick. But I would not mind doing these 2 films.
I'd be up for it
because they're very. I don't know. I mean, I really hated Blair Witch.
I am very curious about it though, so I would definitely be up for doing that, because with how much you hate that movie, I'm just so curious about it.
Yeah, and like you haven't seen it.
I have not, so
surprises me. Because wow.
I mean, I knew it couldn't be as good as the original ones. Like they're gonna mess it up. Definitely not gonna be as good. Although I think it was out. Wasn't it out already by the time I got into the Blair Witch Project?
I don't know. I don't remember when we watched it.
I don't either. It could have been maybe it was last year, because didn't I come to your house on Halloween and we watched some horror movies? So maybe that was the first time I saw it.
It wasn't last year, maybe like a or a few years ago, like before pandemic.
I don't
Maybe.
I don't remember.
I'm trying to find Book of Shadows Blair Witch 2. Let's see if it's on any streaming services.
Well, should we end the review here? We're kind of done talking about the movie.
Yeah. I guess we're done talking about the movie.
I
think if we don't have Book of Shadows Blair Witch 2, like if we can't find it anywhere, we'll just do the 2016 one.
Yep. Sounds good.
Yeah. So that's it. Happy Halloween, everyone.
Happy Halloween. Ooh,
yeah, this was a fun month. So go out, go eat some candy, or this video is probably going to be up after Halloween, but whatever. Just keep watching horror movies and have some fun. Yeah, we'll see you next time.
Peace.
Bye.
Bye.